Hi, my name is Masara, and I'm interviewing Josh Chapman. So, Josh, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for putting this together and inviting me to come be a part of this. My name is Josh Chapman. I am running for City Council in District 5, which is South Davis. It's my first time running for a political office, and I'm really excited that you Rock to Vote Davis is putting this on and reaching out and interviewing folks about the issues that are really important to you.
All right. So, my first question is, what makes you the best candidate for District 5?
Yeah, when I was thinking about that, when you sent me the questions, so kind of a little background and how it applies to what I'm doing. So I lived in South Davis for 10 years. My wife was raised right here in South Davis and went to school all through the Davis public school system. We have two boys, Owen in elementary school and the two-way bilingual program here in South Davis as well. And I just, for me, I've been really actively engaged in the downtown business community. I'm the owner of Armadillo Music, the record store downtown. And I've been the president of the Davis Downtown Business Association as well. So I've been actively engaged in city politics, attending different community meetings and coaching both of their sports all the way through. So, my connection to this community is strong. And I have a lot of folks who are in this community who are excited for me to run Davis. I'm really excited to be throwing my hat in the ring for this.
All right. So, obviously, this year, Davis has switched to a local district election system, which is different than what we've previously done. What are your thoughts on that?
Needs of South Davis haven't been met. So I was really excited when this opportunity came up. Like I said, for me, it's more of a direct relationship with the person who is on city council. And it provides an opportunity for people in the community who feel like they haven't had a voice or they don't know where to go to express their concerns or their feelings or whatever it is they may be facing. And this is, a direct pipeline to that. I think that when we step back and look at it, there are some folks that are concerned around the district elections, but I think when you look at all the races across the board, especially this year in all three districts, they're really strong candidates. So, in terms of representation across the board, there are usually around 9 people that run for city council on the open election, and we're at 10 or 9 again during district elections. So, when they announced they were doing this, I was really excited about it and reached out to a lot of people in the South Davis community, who are close with me and who really wanted me to take a run for it. So I'm fully supportive of district elections. I think it's definitely a way for all the districts in our town to have a different voice and have somebody at the council level that's really there representing the needs of the community. Because as we know, areas and pockets throughout Davis all have different needs in different areas. So this is a way for each part of our city to have a chance to have direct representation on the city council.
Okay. So my next question is actually from one of the measures on the local ballot. Being from District 5, your district is more affected than others with Measure B, which is the MACE development. Are you a supporter of Measure B?
Yeah. Again, it's every person, most of the people that I talk to, that is the biggest one that comes up. So there's kind of a background history around Measure B. A few years ago, it was presented as the Mace Ranch Innovation Center, and then that project was pulled, and then it reappeared as DISC. So for me, any project or anything that comes through the pipeline, if I'm on the city council, it needs to be a community-driven process. It needs to go through all those steps in order to make it to a yes or no vote the council we put on the ballot. So as a council member, if I was sitting on council, I would have liked to have seen this project go through a more rigorous, process in terms of the commissions and the community, especially in South Davis, really looking at this project and hashing out what some of the impacts are going to be. As a community member, when I step back and look at the project with those other pieces aside, the city is in a crisis right now financially. This project does provide a huge amount of revenue to the city. And it also provides much needed affordable housing and housing in general. Some of the questions that are on your sheet that we'll talk about here in a little bit deal with, there are some housing issues that we really need to address. And this does provide that opportunity at the city level to, to put some more housing, more units on the ground for people. Some of the, the traffic mitigation piece is a huge concern for people in South Davis, or just people in general, not just people in South Davis, but, we have to step back and look at the build out on this project. We know that it's a 25 or 20 to 30 year build out, that if, so if Measure B passes, it's not that in 4 years it's going to be completely built out and there'll be 23,000 cars there. There's a lot of money that's that's in this agreement, and that'll be hashed out in the development agreement if it passes, that deals directly with traffic mitigation. So there's that piece there that we really can focus on and carve out money and allocate the money that comes from development agreements to really make sure we're mitigating the traffic impacts this project has. But when we look at a sustainable community and places for people in this town, when they graduate college or they even graduate high school, who can't afford to live here, they can't find housing here. They graduate college and have a hard time finding a job. Oftentimes they do want to stay in Davis, but they can't find work. And also provide some incubation space, where people can grow businesses, right? They can come in, they can start small, there's lab space. They can kind of foster that entrepreneurial spirit here in town, where that hasn't really been the case lately. It also provides space for businesses who are growing to be able to move into larger space that they need. The classic example here in Davis, the most recent, is Schilling Robotics, who was based here in Davis. Amazing company, did a lot of great work, outgrew the space and had nowhere to go. So they have up and moved, and they're no longer operating in Davis. And this project would provide space for businesses like that who are ready to take that next step to be able to grow into that space.
So as a local business owner, especially during the coronavirus recession, do you feel like this new development will harm the downtown system and having all the services and things people need being clumped together in that one downtown Central Davis area? Do you feel like building something all the way on the east side of Davis, will that affect local businesses?
Yeah, and I think, again, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. I think part of what we have to look at is that we need more people living here. We need more people shopping here. We need more people dining here. The build outs that they're talking about at DISC are truly ancillary, truly ancillary space there that are going to provide services just for the people, that coffee shop and things of that nature. But it also has a large transit system where we can move people from that area to downtown. And our downtown, in my opinion, I love our downtown. It's extremely unique. It's vibrant. And we're not going to be able to, that DISC isn't going to compete with that, in my opinion. People who want to be downtown and go down and have dinner and, see a show on the patio at Sophia's or at my store or somewhere else, or hang out in East Street Plaza or go to Farmers Market Central Park, that's all happening downtown. It really is our arts and culture hub. And I don't see this project changing that. What we know from different organizations, when I was on the DDBA board, we had many presentations from local sports groups, especially Legacy, who talked about the impact of, when people come to Legacy, they end up just turning around and going somewhere else to eat or to stay or to do whatever they're doing. And what DISC is going to be able to do, we're going to be able to provide those services back and forth. And it's going to take the partnership between the Chamber of Commerce, the Davis Downtown Business Association, the City of Davis, to really work those pieces out. And I think that I'm uniquely qualified to do that as a business owner and as somebody who was a president of the Davis Downtown Business Association, to help really create that relationship. Oftentimes, we step back and we look at what our downtown is. And the fact of the matter is that, if people are living at DISC, they're still going to want to come downtown. They're still going to want to jump on a bike, get on the green belt, whatever it is, to come down to an area that really is the center of our town. We're not completely packing up and recreating this new downtown over there. And I think that they can be complementary to each other. And overall, I don't have the feeling and have not seen studies or statistics that show that development will hurt the downtown.
Okay, so now actually we're going to move on to a topic of police reform. This year there's been a lot of discussion surrounding police reform. So do you think that the Davis Police Department needs more transparency and accountability? And if you do, what would you propose? Like, what changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that any meaningful reform to policing has to start with civilian oversight. I really believe that. I think one of the things that we hear from the Police Accountability Commission is that they feel like there's not a lot of teeth behind what they're doing. So they're making recommendations and moving pieces forward, and oftentimes it's not falling on deaf ears in terms of people not paying attention to it, but there really isn't much substantive action that comes out of them. I think that as a council member, I want to recognize that, we look at policing, it's not one race that commits crimes. And I think that what we can do is we can proactively hire within the police department, have a more racially diverse police department than what we're seeing right now. There's a lot of statistics that are in studies that show that diverse police departments can help with that process. But I also think, again, that we have to have a robust civilian oversight of the police department that really does have real accountability. And I think that in order for that commission to be trusted and for it to be successful, it has to reflect and represent the people in our community who have been most harmed by the impacts of over policing. It shouldn't be all middle-aged white guys sitting on that commission. It should be a diverse group of people who have experienced issues in policing. But I think that any type of meaningful reform starts with civilian oversight and starts with a robust police accountability commission that is engaged and has the respect of our community as a whole.
Okay, so I guess another question following up with that is that Davis is a town with a significantly higher demographic of white people than other towns of our size, and as our culture begins to diversify and more people begin to move into Davis, do you have any solutions, or do you have any ways to deal with the racism that might occur as we progress into a more diverse society?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of it starts with disparities within the criminal justice system, and that is all part of policing. And I think that we have to look at all of the policies and laws that are on the books. We have to look through them, look at them through the lens of social justice. But we also, when you talk about the town growing, we have to look at laws and ordinances that are on the books that deal with zoning ordinances and housing decisions. We have, as you said, we have created an overwhelmingly white community, and we're in a state that is overwhelmingly a minority population, majority minority of people that live here. So I think, taking a step as you're talking about and walking this back is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take effort and humility. But I think that there's a lot of tough conversations that need to be had. I think that is what we're seeing right now across, regionally in our own town, regionally across the state and across this country. We're seeing those, that movement happen. And as we grow, we really do need to look at, the housing side of what we're doing here. We know, right? I mean, one race isn't more likely to commit the crime than any other races. And we have to look at how we're policing, what that data shows, and how we end up, things that have been proven to reduce racial profiling. And again, to me, this all kind of goes back to and leads to a robust civilian, the accountability commission as well.
Okay, so now we're actually going to move on to the youth. Rock the Vote is it's a platform dedicated to help encourage and empower youth voters. However, that statistics show that the youth are often the least active voting group in the United States, whether that's in midterms, whether it's in presidential or local elections. Why do you think that the youth are so hesitant to participate in their democracy?
I don't know. I mean, I can speak for, for myself and my experiences and what I experienced was, I think oftentimes, and too often, that young people don't feel like their voice is being heard. And oftentimes that their voice doesn't matter. And I think that the perpetuation of you have to be older, you have to have more life experience in order to be engaged or to run for office is the major problem. We live in a town that has a huge population of young people, especially 18 to 24 with the university. And we have to step back and look at ways that we engage those populations of people, and then have dialogue conversations to get more involved. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, I remember participating in mock elections in school, and then in school elections too. And there's something about participating in the democratic process at a young age that I think is so very important. So I think fostering that within our school system, and then within the community in general, finding ways to foster that so that people across the board, when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, have the experience of voting. And whether it's something, a mock election they're doing at the school. My son at Montgomery 4 years ago did it in his class, and they gave him the exact same I vote sticker, and they played out what the results were, but that stuck with him. And I think it's important for us as a community to really just not say this is something that you do when you're 18, or this is just something that you do if you decide you want to run for student body government or anything of that nature. But it is something that we really try and foster at a young age. But I think part of that is what I was saying earlier, is that we have to do a better job in our society as a whole, in when we look at groups of people who want to be engaged, like this group right here, Walk to Vote Davis. This is a group that should be engaged. We should be reaching out, having this group do forums just like this, asking these questions, and doing it even after the election, doing it around issues that come up that are really important to either the younger population, important to the community as a whole, and really bring that group of people into the tent, if you will, so that they understand and know that their voice is heard, and that it's valued in those conversations. I think that we can do a better job, again, at the local level, of really reaching out and communicating to younger populations within our town to really try and get them engaged. It shouldn't just be all of a sudden when you turn 18, a switch is flipped and all of a sudden you're engaged in your community and you're ready to vote. I think when you turn 18 and you're ready to vote, then that's one of those things, like you can get your license or whatever it is, that you're excited to do it and you've been practicing and preparing to do it. And it's kind of that next step. So I think that we definitely need to do a better job at doing that throughout the school, throughout grade, through school, and as a community as a whole.
So if you're elected, how will you work to incorporate and inform the youth? Because I feel like at this current moment, there's a big gap. There's a large divide between schools, especially high school, being a sophomore, junior, senior, and local politics. So if you're elected, how will you work to incorporate the youth in any decisions that you might make?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it was interesting when I saw this question, I kind of sat back and was, really thinking about it and trying to think of ways that, for me as a business owner downtown, how I try and reach different populations of people, and then trying to reflect back when I was younger, how I would want somebody that was older than me to interact with me or try and get me motivated to do something. So, I think that it's finding local leaders like yourself and people that are in your group who clearly have a passion for this and want to be involved and be engaged, and making sure that this isn't, if I'm elected, that this isn't the last time that you and I talk. And I would pledge to, tonight that would be the case. I think that we have to be more creative in looking at how we reach out through social media. I think the city does not do a great job that way. And I'd be interested in finding ways to do internships with either college students or high school students to really run some platforms in ways to reach out to the younger population of folks. We know that's the vast majority of time how they get their information, and how they want to be engaged with. I also think a great opportunity is working with the hub at the high school, and having some sort of monthly interviews or monthly spotlight pieces, or having the hub reporting. All these different things where we're engaging that segment of the high school community in city politics. And I think it has to be proactive. I think oftentimes at this level, people have become complacent and step back and say, well, we kind of wait for somebody to come to us and say they want to help out or they want to learn. I think it's incumbent upon, especially now, for us to reach out to the younger population of folks and be more proactive in trying to engage them in these conversations. I also think that we should look at, having in our city commissions, we should have see if we can appoint young people, whether, maybe it's not a voting position or whatever it is, but they're on some of these commissions, right? To have their voice heard, where, to have an experience of sitting in a meeting, hearing people do a presentation and being part of a conversation and providing a different side of an argument or a different life experience that you have as a teenager, or that you have as somebody who's 20 or 21 or 22, or just somebody who's a citizen of Davis, right? Who you are, you have the same opportunities as me, to have your voice heard. So I think that kind of stepping back, and really trying to find ways to kind of create these positions within city government that provide a sense of leadership and a leadership role for the younger population of folks to come in. Yes, there are some of those roles, obviously, within at your high school, but I think, the university does, within their groups, they have their own, groups that are set up, and they're running them, and they're doing it, and they're proactive, and they're engaged. But I think at the city level, someone like yourself, I'm not sure if you were, born and raised here all the way through, like, you've experienced a lot of things that I haven't experienced, and that voice is so important. And we need to do a better job at making sure that everyone, has that same seat around the table. And I think a great way to do that is to really, like I said, to kind of, to create some sort of a new system where we reach out and find ways to find, young leaders in our community and harness that energy and really, try and get them to be more active, and provide that space.
So that was actually my last question. Are there any parting comments you have to anyone that may be watching this?
Yeah, I first, in a parting comment, I think it's, when I got your email, I was really excited that you reached out. I love that there's a group of young people in this community who want to know more, who want to sit down and ask questions about issues that are not only affecting this town, but also, affecting, them in their own life and where they live. I think another reason why I wanted to run and why I want to do is, I want my kids to, to graduate, go do whatever they're going to do, and want to come back here. My wife, as I said, was born and raised here, and we left for a long period of time and came back and want to raise our family here. And I think it's really important, in order to do that, in order to grow this community in a way that we do it that's sustainable, that we need to have young people around the table. We need to have their voices heard. And I truly do hope that, whether I win or not, or whether, I want this group to know that, I hope this isn't the last time that we all talk. And I would commit to anyone who's listening here, tonight to having my phone number and sitting down, whether it's through a Zoom or when we can actually be in person again, to really make sure that we're engaging a younger population of people. When I was growing up, my dad ran for school board, in a small town in Maine, and won. I think he won 4 elections. So I saw firsthand what it was like to see change and how important that was, for him, but also for me, as a young person. Being a part of that was something special, and that has what's resonated with me. So even though my kids are doing it, for me as somebody young, that was an impactful thing in my life that has always, encouraged me always to vote, always to do my research, and always to be engaged. And I think that is so important, because some of the decisions that we make at the polling place are so very, very important, have such lasting impacts, that it's important to make sure we're covering those bases, and that everyone across the board is engaged and involved. And if I can play a role in that in some kind of way, pass along to folks who in this community the experience that I had as a young person, then I'd be grateful.